Some people have had different experiences climbing with Frank. I always found him to be an ideal climbing partner. He's fast. He never did anything that I considered rash. And of course, he's really good. One time on a trip, this is me and Steve Roper, in fact, we did a trip down to Takis for a week. And anyway, we stopped briefly down in San Diego. I wanted to see my mom for a bit. My mom, who she's already thinking about things, and she went on to become a Zen teacher, and she asks Frank, what is freedom? And Frank thought a bit, and he gave an answer that I thought was an interesting one. He said, freedom is wanting to do what you have to do. That's a very different answer from a lot of our contemporary conceptions of freedom, which is like being able to do whatever the hell you want. And one evening there at Regent Street, Frank came home with this armload of books. Not unusual, he always had an armload of books. But these were really old books. I picked up his stack of books and I'm thumbing through them. I said, Frank, can't you get any newer books on this stuff? And he said, you will learn, Eric, that the old books are good. The modern tendency is to regard it as a kind of heresy to use any spoken English. If you can do it all symbolically, this is good stuff. And it was heretical to give some discussion of the motivation behind a derivation. And anyway, I followed that advice and found it to be very helpful. I even had the opportunity of climbing with Frank once when he was out of shape. I was up in the valley that spring, and Frank just came up for the weekend, and we went to do the East Buttress of Lower Cathedral Rock. The climb went pretty well for me. In fact, except for 2 pins of 8, we would have done the first free ascent. Frank climbed the rope a lot on that ascent. And a couple weeks later, the first free ascent was done by the previously mentioned Steve Thompson, who was I thought, a very brilliant but not that dedicated climber. I meet people like that all the time. They're really good, and for some reason, they like it, but they don't really pursue it like they could. Oh.
Eric, I have a question for you. In my experiences with Frank, when we did something that was really challenging for him, he would continue to struggle with it, and then he'd get into a fury.
I never experienced that. I never experienced
that. I kept arguing with him and saying, look, that energy is what you need, but you don't turn it into anger. That gets in the way of it. I think some hearing you say that he had changed from that procedure. Something different.
I just tell these stories as I see them from my vantage point. I'm sure there are sides of Frank that I never saw. Yeah, Steve.
Is it true when you guys did the west face of Sentinel, you did so with one rope, a quart of water, and a can of fruit cocktail, as Roper reports? Is that accurate?
Except for one detail. It wasn't a can of fruit cocktail. It was a payday candy bar. And we cut the hardware way down. We took 25 pitons. And I remember back in Berkeley, we talked for a while, should we bring the 4-inch bong? And eventually we decided to bring it, and that proved to be fortunate, because on the pitch above the dog legs, I used it twice. At one point I used it, climbed a little higher, realized that I might need it again, came down, took it out, and put it in up higher.
Frank used to, he decided on payday, because I remember when we would go to the candy machine, he would try to see which candy
That's right, yes, that's right. Yeah, they were the best deal, yeah.
Did Frank know about the John South Day and the whole tradition of going super light and committed and that whole style that sort of preempted everyone coming in the 60s?
Well, Frank once said that he liked to think he made an improvement every climb that he did. You know, a free ascent is an obvious example, but you know, if you just find a little bit better way to go on a pitch, or you know, doing a route in a day is a real improvement. I don't think any of us have ever thought that hauling is the coolest thing to do. And
Oh, Eric, you forgot to mention, in fact, that the one-day ascent was the first grade 6.
well, they call it a grade 5 now.
Originally, it was all the way from the bottom, and they
You-
figured
you-
it out.
You know, I subsequently went back and did that part, the part below Tree Ledge, and it's pretty crummy climbing. It's real rotten down there. There's a little bit of 5/8, and I wouldn't recommend that for anybody. Okay, guys, thanks.